Hi guys, it's Sophie. So today I'm going to be doing a really chilled, chatty kind of video with you guys that I've been looking forward to filming all month really. And I mentioned it in my last video very briefly, and it's basically just going to be me talking about what it's like for me to be reading less in sort of over the last month and my feelings around it. I've been doing a few videos about this, and I know it's sort of kind of a thing that's happening this year, that people are in general on BookTube thinking about reading a little bit less and thinking about the balance they're having in their life. So yeah, I'm really excited to be able to chat about it a little bit more. So just to start out by saying, over the last few years and probably throughout most of my life would have considered myself to be a pretty sort of avid reader, like in terms of volume. Like I was reading a lot of stuff. I read 200 books in 2016. So pretty much like a book every other day. And there are some positives to reading that much. Like, I think the things I found most positive about reading that much of a volume of things was that I was lucky enough to be exposed to so many different new ideas, so many different ways of looking at things than I would have been able to if I'd read from say 20 books in a year. But I think for me the disadvantages outweigh the positives. So what I found is what I know a fair few other people have found on BookTube, which is that there's this pressure inherent in reading that much, and reading itself can become like a chore. And I don't think that's anything like that anyone here wants. I know that for a lot of us, reading is like how we unwind and how we sort of recollect ourselves. They're not for everyone. I do know that for some people it is sort of an energy sort of takes away rather than being added to when you read. But I think for me it was too far on the side of it being a chore, and it was really to the point, especially to the latter half of 2016, where I felt as though my free time was for reading. It wasn't that I did reading in my spare time, it was when I wasn't engaged in something that I had to be doing, I ought to be reading. And I think that's what sort of made this the sort of switch in my head to think, is this really what I want to be doing with my time? So over the last month I read 7 books, which is still a fair amount. I'd only planned on reading 4, but normally I'd read sort of 15 to 20 books in a month, so sort of 7 really isn't that many for me. And I think I didn't expect to have as much free time when I took away quite so much reading as I have, but it's been really enjoyable. I've been able to do a lot of other things that I've wanted to do for a long time and have not let myself do because I've felt as though I had to be doing something else. So I've been able to start volunteering again, which is something I'd wanted to do for a really long time. I'm having time to just like go out on walks and stuff, like little things that I would have wanted to do before but felt as though maybe I ought not to have been doing. And like spending time like cooking properly and things like that, like the day-to-day life things that I hadn't really realised were being pushed to one side. I think they definitely were. I think I found a lot more freedom in what I'm doing as well, because I think I became quite elitist with my time, because I want to make sure I spend as much of my life as I possibly can making myself a better person and having the biggest positive impact I can on the world as a whole. And I felt that reading was a safe way to know I was doing that, and I think I told myself that if I was reading, I was accomplishing that. I didn't really have to put in any additional effort, I just had to be reading. And I kind of got to a stage where I felt as though if I was doing anything that wasn't reading, it was almost a waste of time. Be that like just spending the time to like listen to a piece of music, or like watching a TV show, watching a documentary, or whatever. I felt as though it was detracting from my learning, and it was kind of annoying. Like I found myself getting annoyed if like friends would come over and be like, oh, do you want to watch a TV show or whatever, and I'd be like, no, like how banal, like and that's just really silly. So I've been able to do just lots of different things I sort of wanted to do and have always done without feeling that pressure. I mean, I have found it weird not to be able to read like the variety. Like I think that's difficult because I found that I normally tend to read like 1 book at a time. That's like the kind of reader I am. But I found in the last month I've been picking up like 5 or 6 different things because I kind of crave that change and that difference, and I found myself skipping around an awful lot more when I've been reading less. I don't know how that will sort of go longer term, but that's something I don't really like about it so far, is that I find I get a little bit bored if I'm reading the same thing for sort of like a week at a time, and I'm used to only reading it for like a couple of days. So we'll see how that goes, but so far it's not sort of stopping me or making me think I need to be reading more. And I just think, like, I know a lot of people who read a lot, like we do, you know. There is like this pressure, and it's not that there's anyone telling you have to do this. It's not that necessarily that you feel like a pressure from the community. It's nearly always like an internal pressure. I think a lot of people who read have been that person who is very much defined by their intellect, and who's very much defined by their performance in intellectual pursuits. And because of the way that this community works, there is a visibility to the amount you read and also the complexity of the texts you read. And whilst I don't think the community or individuals are trying to make this competitive, I think often the kinds of people who read books are used to intellectual competitiveness, and therefore are kind of driven internally to try and be more or achieve more through reading, which obviously puts pressure on something that should be fun. And reading ordinarily, I think, as well, the sort of impact on it is something that's very solitary. It's not something that you would share with people. People normally might see you reading a book but won't know how many books you've read, or, you know, which authors you've read the most from that year. And BookTube and social media around books is very different in that it brings your reading, which has been sort of historically something quite personal, out into a very public sphere. And I think that in itself causes some pressure for people who've not been used to having reading be something that can be seen by other people necessarily. So it's all just kind of food for thought. But if you are like feeling that pressure, and maybe you know, you just don't know why, you don't know what's happening, I would just say, like, you can better yourself in a number of different ways, and you can take different things from reading. Like, it's been a long time since I've sat down and read a text like critically. Like, I kind of read Notes of a Native Son critically, but sort of sat down in that kind of environment, and some people find that really valuable, and sort of breaking things down and thinking about how they all fit together, and that's going to take longer. I think all I'm trying to say, really, because I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, is make sure that you're happy with how you're reading, and know that if you find you're unhappy, there's nothing wrong with changing it. I think reading is a really big part of who I am, and sometimes I find it hard to make changes to that because I worry about how that impacts me as a person, or how that affects the way I'm learning about things, or limits the way I might think. But I think you just have to do what makes you happy sometimes, and reading should always be a positive thing. And if you're finding that for whatever reason it isn't, there's no pressure on you to keep doing that thing. There's no reason for you to do that other than just what you're putting on yourself. So just remember that. I really hope that you guys have found this interesting. I know it's been really rambly, but that's kind of what I wanted it to be, just like freeform thoughts rather than anything scripted or anything. So hopefully you've enjoyed it, and do let me know in the comments down below what you think about this. Have you found sort of similar pressures in your reading life, or in your sort of hobby life more generally? And has anyone here tried to start reading less? Because I know a few people in the community have. And if so, have you found anything similar to what I've said, or anything completely different or new? Just share that with everyone down below. I think that'd be great. But yeah, I'll see you soon in my next video, which will be probably something more specific than just me rambling for like 12 minutes. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys soon. I hope you're all well, I hope you're all happy, I hope you are surviving through a really miserable, grey and rainy February. It's her birthday month though, so you know, I have something this month to look forward to. But yeah, I'll see you guys all soon, and I hope you're well, and yeah, I'll see you soon. I'm gonna shut up now. Stop rambling, Sophie, it's madness.